All right, let's react to some hot takes. Why don't we? I put up a community tab a couple days ago asking for your hot takes, and so now I will be reacting to them. I asked for draft-related hot takes, and not all of them were, but some of them were still interesting enough. I put in the video anyway. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get into it. Detroit Lions to the Super Bowl, baby. Now, obviously, half the comments here are my team will make the Super Bowl, but I truly believe the Lions will. They have major improvements this offseason, and I think this is their year. Yeah, well, again, not really draft related, but I'm going to consider it draft enough because I think they had a really good draft. And I think that's part of where the take is coming from, is the good draft. I agree. They have had a great offseason. In the NFC, I still think San Francisco is probably the favorite at this point, but the idea that Detroit can't go to the Super Bowl would be silly. I do think this is their best shot. They got guys they have to pay coming up pretty soon after this season, so I think they've been kind of smart in saying let's not fully go all in, but a little bit go all in. They're putting a lot of resources into being good this season. Like the Carlton Davis trade, a good example of that. I think that they could make the Super Bowl. I do not think this is a crazy hot take. If anything, maybe it's just not hot enough, because I think a lot of people would agree with it. But yeah, while it is a homer take, by a Lions fan, hey, sometimes the homer takes aren't wrong. Next one is Steelers draft class propels them to AFC North crown. Which appears to be a Steelers fan doing this as well. So again, might have some fans of their of a certain team feeling optimistic after the draft. It's kind of how it works. But just like I said last time, just because it's a homer take doesn't mean it's a wrong take. This is certainly a hot take, and this is certainly a take that people that aren't Steelers fans are probably not going to agree with. And I am not a Steelers fan, although I'm not a Steelers hater either, and I am going to probably disagree as well. I do think there is some real things to like about Pittsburgh for sure. I do think that they got a really good draft class. I agree, but I still think that they're in a unique spot where it seems like year after year they feel like they have no business being a playoff team, but somehow make the playoffs. Now they actually feel like a playoff team, but I just have no idea how to project what that team is going to be. It's very possible they still end up as kind of a wild card team, which is probably what I'm expecting. I think it'd be hard to put them above guys like, teams like the Ravens and the Bengals, who have guys like Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow and plenty of other talent as well. But do I think the Steelers have a chance? Sure, I would say they have a chance. But honestly, I think if they do win the AFC North, it's probably going to be more due to the Bengals and Ravens disappointing, and then the Steelers maybe overperforming a little bit. But I could see the Steelers winning like 12 games. That seems possible. Next, we have Armarius Mims will turn into an all-pro tackle by the time his rookie contract expires. This is a good one. Definitely a hot take. Winning an all-pro is tough. I talked about this on the podcast with Kyle, where people like to throw out, this person's going to be an all-pro someday. It's like, winning an all-pro is really hard to do. You have to be the best player at your position, or in case of a tackle, one of the top two players at your position, unless we're counting second-team all-pros as well. But still, feels like, that's certainly high expectations for Mims. I think he has the athleticism to be an all-pro, like if he reaches his ceiling. It's just, are we expecting it right out of the gate? I'm not so sure. So that's a hot take that I don't fully agree with, but is it possible? Could I look back on this 4 years from now and say, wow, you nailed it? Sure. So definitely possible. This will be the best offensive lineman class this decade. This decade, I'd probably have to go back and look and really double check and see what was the best, but it's a great one for sure. When I was evaluating film for these guys, I hadn't heard too many people bring up the offensive line, and I don't know why, because you're right, the offensive line in this class are insane. This is an incredible offensive line class. It might be the best since I've been doing this, which has been about 5 years now. Again, best decade, who knows? But I agree, really good offensive line class. Aiden O'Connell ends the season with more throwing yards than any of this year's rookie class. This is a great hot take. Well done. I like this because you got to think about it. So, okay, what's happening? Well, for one thing, I think part of the hot take is the Raiders have a pretty good offensive supporting cast, right? So that's part of how you have to view this. But then you have to look at who are these 6 quarterbacks. You have Caleb Williams. Okay, that's going to be tough because it feels like that could be a pretty, pass-heavy offense, but maybe don't going to want to run the ball a decent amount. Jaden Daniels also could be a pretty pass-heavy offense, so that's going to be tough. Also that Washington Commanders team had a lot of passing yards last year, so a team that could be throwing the ball a decent amount and getting their defense wasn't good, getting behind a decent amount. So not sure about that. Drake May maybe because that offensive supporting cast isn't great for them. You don't have Michael Penix who will sit out. JJ McCarthy who's might sit out. We don't know. Are they going to let Darnold play a few games? I think he's going to play, and I think he's in a pretty good situation as well. And then you have Bo Nix at 12, who, again, not the best supporting cast. But still, for these guys, I mean, again, I guess maybe you're saying, the Bears, they never have a 4,000-yard passer. I feel like one of these guys is going to end up with like 4,500 yards, whether that's Williams or Daniels. So for Aiden O'Connell, who averaged around 200 yards a game last season, sure, it's they added Brock Bowers, that should help. But unless we see a pretty significant change in how they just run their offense or a change in how O'Connell plays, I don't think passing yards is a great indicator of like how good you are as a player. So it's not an insult to O'Connell to say that I don't think it's going to happen, but I don't think it's going to happen. This one, another quarterback one. 4+ quarterbacks work out from this draft, and it goes down as one of, if not the best quarterback draft classes ever, which is possible. So if 4 are successful, again, you have Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Penix, JJ McCarthy, and Bo Nix. So you have 6 guys in the first 12 picks. So a lot of potential there. And if 3 of those guys hit, it's totally possible one of the guys in a later round end up working out, right? That happens relatively frequently. So yeah, well, at least 4 guys hitting feels like a high number. It could happen, although I would also go back to the Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson draft. Only one of those guys is really been a hit, and that's Lawrence. And even he, you could argue, has been a little bit underwhelming given just the insane expectations put on him. So possible, but not something I would bet on. J.J. McCarthy has the best season among rookie quarterbacks. He's got great weapons, solid O-line, and a coach who actually made Dobbs and Nick Mullins look decent. I like this hot take because, yeah, again, they're not saying best career, just best first season. I don't think it's crazy. I do think there is some things he has to work on a little bit, but he's relatively NFL ready. And it depends on how much Caleb Williams will get away with his rookie year. Certainly, I think there is a bit of a learning curve for him. Actually, even though I wasn't as high on Jaden Daniels as other people were as a prospect, think he's pretty NFL ready as well. So I wouldn't be shocked to see him have things go well, but might not be in quite as good of a situation. So, and then there's the Bo Nix thing, who I think he could have a solid year as well. But yeah, that's definitely one that seems like a scorching hot take when you read it. But when you think about it for a bit, like that actually makes some sense. So yeah, good hot take. We'll see if it works out. Finally, this is my last one. Some of them I ended up cutting at the last minute, but thank you for everyone who did write a comment, even if I didn't. I did read all the comments and enjoyed reading all of them. Some of them just didn't really make sense for the pacing of the video and everything, but I appreciate it. But yeah, last comment: the Jets finishing 4th in the AFC East next season. This is a fun one. So I think you could argue 3rd seems possible. The hot take is the 4th aspect. I don't know. I think the Jets will be pretty solid next year. Now, here's, I guess, the argument is like if the defense, which can be fluky year in and year out, ends up struggling, or honestly, maybe just if Aaron Rodgers comes back and isn't really fully right coming off of the Achilles, and then maybe I think what you would need for this to work would be for Drake May to be really good year 1. I think that's the way this could work because you have the Bills and you have the Dolphins who... Bills, I think, are going to take a step back after losing some pieces this offseason, but they still have Josh Allen. They're still very good. The Dolphins, obviously, are going to have to deal with some of the injuries they suffered towards the end of last season, and they lost pieces as well, but I think are still very good. So you can easily talk yourself into 3rd for the Jets, but them being below the Patriots is tough. I think the Jets are very much a boomer-bust team, but I think even if they bust, they'll probably be better than the Patriots, unless the Patriots end up being significantly better than I think they're going to be. But a fun hot take. Every take I mentioned was a lot of fun, so thank you to everybody for playing along, giving me some things to react to. I do appreciate it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.